On the Harbor One hotline to talk about it, it is the owner of the Boston Celtics, Wyc Grousbeck. Hey, Wyc.
What's going on, Hillman?
What a win last night. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Short of a brief run there, maybe in the third, the Bucks struggled last night, and a huge win for your basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, we will take the 1-point wins. We'll take the 3-point buzzer beater wins, but having the wire-to-wire 23-point win sounds just a little bit better.
We were talking earlier about Marcus Smart, and obviously encouraging to see that team win without him last night. And I know you're probably going to be somewhat careful in what you say with regard to that injury, but is he dealing? Is that the leg thing? Is it because it looked like maybe it was a dislocated shoulder the other day? Is he just kind of banged up? What can you tell us about when he may or may not return?
Yeah, well, the first thing is anything that Marcus is feeling, all the other guys are feeling that he's playing against. I mean, he gives it and he gets it. So it's sort of he's like a wrecking ball, and he's Defensive Player of the Year. He's just amazing. But my understanding is the shoulder's fine. I thought it was a dislocation when he walked by us on the way to the locker room. It didn't look good, but I think it's more a quad. And okay. Those things we've got 3 days off, and it's a quad. My gut would be I've not examined Marcus, as they say, but if you got 3 days off and you've got a quad contusion, you're probably playing on Saturday, would be my guess.
Yeah. Good.
Wyc, when you look at having these next 3 days off, at first I was worried because you're playing hot right now. Now you have a 3-day lull until Saturday. Are you happy now because you have to deal with the Marcus injury?
Yes. Well, actually, the way I feel right now after that game, if we played in 5 minutes, I'd be fine. But right. Or in 5 days. I mean, there's just no. But this is the way they want it this way for national TV, so they can get our series, which is sort of the talk of the country and all that, with the defending champs, and then we swept the Nets on our side. This matchup is getting sort of the national TV slots, and so they want our next game to be Saturday afternoon, and that's where we'll be in Milwaukee.
Wyc, what is it about this team? I was at the game last night, and you really get this chance to see how Ime gets these guys to buy in, when talking about timeouts or just some of the in-game adjustments. What is it about this team, this coach, that, they're always able to handle whatever moment it is during the game, whether it's a high moment or a low moment, just something about them?
Well, I have an opinion, but Wiggy, I actually think probably everybody listening wants to hear you as, you played for Belichick. You were, I really would rather hear your take on what's special about Ime from a perspective of being coached.
Well, I would say this, and I really got to see this last night from him. He never, he stays even keeled the whole game, even, post game, the way he talks. And it's something.
He doesn't get too up or too down.
Yeah, and there was a moment in the game where Tatum was frustrated, and he brings him over, and he just stays calm and cool, and you could see Tatum just kind of shaking his head. I don't know what he was saying, but it's just something about when you have a coach that never changes his emotion to a point where wow, this guy's flying off the rails, or it seems like he's getting too low. I think players really respect that. I mean, that's what I got from being there, just being in the arena.
Yeah, I think that was right after Jayson got that technical, and he was like, hey, enough. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on there. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think he's, the word he described when we had our interview last summer, I asked him what word describes you. Please describe yourself in a word. Maybe that's a little corny. I just thought of it at the time. And he said, he thought about it. He said, I'm authentic. Yeah. And he is. Like you said, he played in the league. He worked his way up. He played in the Canary Islands and overseas, and made it through the G League or D League and the small school, Portland State, and first of all, and then made it to the Spurs. And made it to the NBA and started a bit in the NBA. So anyway, he worked his way up. He's a grinder. He's authentic. He's brilliant. He's really good with people. He's a great leader.
We talked to you a little bit about this question a couple months ago, but I just want to get a further answer from you on it. When you made the move, when it came to Brad and to Ime, what was your expectation for this team? Has this team exceeded it getting to the second round?
Yep. I've been thinking more about it. When I looked at what the team had done over the last few years with our young guys, Jalen and Jayson, getting to the conference finals 3 times, it felt like that's a base that we could grow on or whatever, or build up. And then when it came time to hire a new GM and new coach last summer, and we had come off a 500 season and a disappointing first-round loss to the Nets last year, it was that, you can't say, well, of course, we're going to flip the switch now. This is going to be just an amazing year. You don't say it, you say, what's the plan for 6 years? Let's put another banner up there over the next 6 years, 5, 6 years. Let's do it in the prime of Jayson and Jalen. And so that was the plan. And so it's paying dividends right now with a good, hard-playing team, number 2 seed in the East, and hopefully we can continue this run for 5, 6 more years.
And have you noticed, I have admitted countless times on this program that I was wrong with regard to Jayson Tatum when I had suggested that I felt like he may not grow into, may not be the leader that this team needs. I was clearly wrong about that, and it doesn't happen very often, but I'm happy to admit it when it does. Have you been able to see him as the owner of this team develop into a real leader?
Well, yeah, co-owner is the right word, but thank you. Yes. Let's see. He's definitely leading. He's leading by example, but he's leading by example of passing the ball and taking charges and playing incredible defense, which tires everybody out. The offense comes a lot easier when you're not playing top-level defense, and he's playing like all defense on Durant and on Giannis and others. And anyway, he's leading in every possible way. So is Jalen. So is Marcus. So is Al. And then his own way, Rob Williams. Let's just name the whole starting 5. But, Rob Williams, is he leading from his younger age? No. But is he like the emotional part of the team in some ways, Rob Williams? Yeah, if you really ask the guys, yes. I mean, Jason's like, he's my favorite person I've ever played with. And that's Rob. So anyway, I think they're all kind of sharing the lead, and they're listening to Ime, and then they're listening to the crowd. And there were 19,000 people in there last night. The place was melting down. So that helps as well.
When you think about bringing Al back to Boston, and you watch him last night, he seems to be the potion for Giannis. I thought he played incredible against Giannis last night. How much of a leader is he behind the scenes? Maybe things that we don't see Al do for this team. Was that the reason why you guys brought him back?
Well, Brad made that decision. I thought it was a really good one. I certainly do think it's a really good one, obviously. Al is definitely a leader, and behind the scenes at practice, in the locker room after a game, on the team plane, who's going to be speaking? If someone's going to be speaking to the team, it might be Al. And most of that stuff I wouldn't be in, but when I am in the locker room or when I am at practice, which is pretty often, Al is talking to guys and making his presence felt, and he's a very, very positive influence on the team.
Wyc, I think it's great to talk about leadership, but I find the one thing that's most important in sports is guys buying into their roles. And when you look at this basketball team, I think everybody now, and there was some change where guys are now buying into their roles. They're not trying to play over their heads. It's, the famous quote from Belichick is do your job. Do you get that sense that, it's about the collective goal, which is winning, rather than the, me getting my shots or me getting my points, where it seems like, the biggest thing I notice is that, hey, everybody understands where they are, what their roles are.
Yeah, there's definitely a phase in, I think, a lot of pro careers, and you've lived it, I'm just observing it, but where you really start to figure out, what you're going to remember and what your lasting legacy is going to be. And these guys come to practice every day in our practice facility along the Pike with 17 banners hanging in there and pictures from championships. And, and they saw Kevin Garnett's number retired the other day. And they all watched it for an hour, and everybody who watched it, came away, I think, changed. That's greatness, and that's what results from greatness. So I think these guys have totally bought into it, and they're trying to add to the legacy of the Celtics. It's a tough thing to do, and these guys are trying to do it.
Wyc, you should be praised for sticking with this team and not making a rash decision, as Greg alluded to earlier. We were all saying, there's no future for here. Jalen and Jayson can never get along. And it really is remarkable to see where this team has come and the limited amount of major moves necessary for them to get there. Was there a specific moment this season after January where you sat back and were like, hey, this is the good decision that I made by trusting the process? Is there anything that happened along the way where you're like, this is a team that could be ready to contend right now?
Well, I guess January and then February, they were great months from a record standpoint. And then March, we lost like one game in March or something. I don't know what happened. I don't remember the exact details, but it just built on itself. But I'm not sure quite what to say other than I did think this would be a very solid crew to go forward with and build on, and that's Brad, Ime, and the core of the roster. And so I wanted to stay with that core group and add in Brad and Ime and then see what happened. And we're off to a good start. The fall was a little rough, the fall and early winter, and now the spring is better. But, it all changes like Saturday in Milwaukee and Monday in Milwaukee. I mean, that's the fun of the playoffs is all this self-congratulation and everything. It all sounds good. And then all of a sudden, Giannis is coming towards you at 100 miles an hour, and you just have to focus.
Speaking of that, I don't want you to get fined, so I'll say it. The guy gets away with an awful lot, Giannis. I mean, I hope you're in the ear of the refs.
Well, you sat with me a time or two, but no, it's all in good fun actually with the refs. At this point, after 20 years, we joke, we say hello, and it's all good. It's all good. But it's just Giannis is so good for the league. He's a two-time MVP, and he's an amazing person. And, he plays hard. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I would say this. I think Ime's got to be extremely proud of those guys because when you talk about Giannis, the Celtics have faced probably, two of the top 5 greatest players in the NBA right now, and Kevin Durant and Giannis, and they have given them defensively, they have given them fits. What have you seen out there, from your standpoint of what they've been able to do against a player like Giannis? I mean, they've kind of did a great job. Last night he was frustrated. Grant Williams was on him at times. I know Courtney brought up Al Horford, but it just seems like defensively that the Celtics are doing a tremendous job when it comes to defending Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, that takes a lot out of you, but there's usually 2 guys around him, or then they were playing single coverage on him last night for a while, and that was just a different look. I think it's throwing different looks. Ime was a defensive coordinator for the Nets last year. He was really like their assistant head coach for defense, I think would be a way of describing his role. He's a very, I think, defensive-minded. He was as a player, and he is now as a coach, which is great, and that's been our calling card, number 1 defense in the league this year. But on the other hand, I sat there and watched the Bucks practically shut our guys down. We were unconscious and made a ton of shots, but there was a lot of defense. They picked up full court pressure the whole game. They were harassing everybody. They were right up in everybody's chest. I mean, I thought the Bucks played really hard defense, and the score didn't maybe indicate it quite the same way, but we made a bunch of shots. The Bucks played hard too.
Look, we talk a lot about Jayson Tatum and where he has ascended to. Do you have him as a top 5 player in this league right now? And further, is he somebody that you would want to spend his career here in Boston?
Well, when he made those last 2 threes at the end of that game, I have him as the top 1 player in the league, hands down. Jayson. I mean, I don't like going on record about every player at all times and everything else, but there's no question Jayson and others on this team, we would love them to be here forever. So that's the way it feels, and we're very, very glad he's here.
Now, your business partners in your tequila with the owner of the Bucks, Wes Eden. I'm wondering if, depending on which way this series goes, would you have to break up the partnership, or is it does that?
That's a very well. Let's just put it this way: we are very, very good friends off the court, and on the court we sit in separate little areas. We used to sit together at Bucks Celtics games. We had that first playoff series, and we beat the Bucks. And Wes said he's never sitting with me again, and I respect that as a competitor. So no problem. So we give each other good seats at each other's games, and then we're super happy or super bummed out at the end of the game. And there's no question, but we're still friends.
Sincorrow is the tequila, and it seems like it's doing really well.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, thanks, guys. We really appreciate when people taste it. They might take the first sip. It might be because Michael Jordan's involved. I know it's not so because I'm involved or Wes is involved, but it's us, MJ, my wife Amelia, who is unbelievable and runs the whole show, and then Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Lakers. So it's quite a group of really, really good friends that can't stand each other for 2 hours at a time, but great friends. And the result of all of this is delicious tequila, and we've sold 2 million bottles in 2.5 years. So
wow,
it is like,
awesome.
And it's out of hand. And Hillman, you've been a great friend of it, so thanks very much for that.
Well, you know what I would like to do is we should try to do a tasting with some winners because I like if you're up for it, and I don't know if we do it prior to a game or whatever, but if you're up for it, I would love to give the loyal listeners of this program an opportunity to try Sincorrow with you and to talk a little bit of basketball with you if you're up for it.
Well, why don't we do it at like Howl at the Moon or something, one of your places,
that'd be
one
great.
of your empire.
Oh, wow.
All right, so we'll figure that out and we'll do that. And
I'm totally up for that. First of all, a little sip of Sincorrow before the game or a couple of gulps really makes everything go better. But I love what's really fun is having people have their first taste of it and say, oh, like I don't like tequila from college, or I don't this, or I don't that, and then you taste it and you're like, oh, got it.
Are you a
Blanco?
Blanco?
It really is that experience.
Are you a Blanco guy or Reposado or Añejo?
I am after last night I was an extra Añejo.
Oh,
which
the
is
good stuff.
Pretty special stuff. It's pretty special stuff. But Blanco is really nice. Just, you can make a Paloma with it. It's actually even neat, just neat, plain, straight white tequila is amazing. I usually drink our Reposado and an Old Fashioned. I usually have the Añejo with a big rock and maybe a little bit of an orange slice. And you know what? I can't really choose. It's sort of like saying, well, who's your favorite Celtic? I don't have to pick this one.
Speaking of, I always need to work a television question, and you brought up Jeannie Buss. Have you watched that HBO series on the Lakers at all?
Yes. We definitely. I consider it work. I have to scout them.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to. I would love
Celtics version.
Yeah,
of it?
the next one should be the Celtics version. I don't know, but I feel like I don't know. Certainly the Red Hour. Whoever is playing Red Auerbach is doing a fantastic
Michael
job.
Chiklis.
Is that Michael Chiklis?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
Michael.
accurately playing him or not. I know that some people like Jerry West is upset. Jerry West isn't happy with his portrayal, but I mean, it's a great series.
Yeah, there were some questions about some of the portrayals. The Lakers didn't cooperate with it. They weren't even, I don't think, asked. And so, Jeannie's a good friend, and she's sort of like, they didn't really ask for our permission. So they're just sort of going off and doing their stuff. But I think a couple of the portrayals were a little bit unflattering, but I'll leave that to the Lakers to hash out. But I'm fine if Lakers have any problems. There's no problem with me.
Well, listen, congrats to the guys on last night. And this thing is all tied up at 1. And heading to Milwaukee, you'll probably see the other owner of the Bucks out there, Aaron Rodgers. So maybe you could say hello to Aaron Rodgers when you're out there over the weekend.
So, man, what did we just agree to? Are we doing something with winners and a tasting? And,
yes.
And what are we doing? You're going to.
Well, listen. For me, it's all about these loyal people. So I would like to give them something. Can we give them tickets to a game or anything? I mean, I don't want to over exceed my ask here, but.
Well, why don't we do absolutely? So now that we know there's going to be a game 5, that's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So why don't we do a couple great playoff seats for game 5?
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Fantastic.
Sip flip.
They'll
Wick.
get
do that. That's great.
They'll get the tickets that I was going to get for Wiggy. So, let's.
Yeah.
I'm working on floor
Sean
seats.
Sullivan,
All right. So
Sean Sullivan right now, our ticket guy's driving off the road going, 2 more tickets. But,
Sully, he'll
but it
text
sounds
me in
good.
2 minutes, Sully. But let's give away. We'll give away a pair of really good seats. And I'll do it. You know what? We'll do it tomorrow. You want to do it tomorrow? Or you want to do it Friday, Kurt? Maybe we'll do it Friday.
Friday it up.
Okay, all right. We'll give them away Friday. And we'll do a tasting with you and some tequila beforehand, and this will make it happen. All right.
Unbelievable. And I will actually have our best stuff there. We'll have a little bit of the extra añejo. First, we'll start with a little bit of the other stuff to build up to, and then everybody can get a sip of extra añejo, which is really special stuff.
Awesome.
Wow.
Wyc, great to talk to you, and we will talk to you again next week as this series continues. So thanks for being on this
Thanks,
morning.
everybody. Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks.
That is Wyc Grousbeck. The tequila is Sincorrow.